Hi, I'm Gloria from Gloria Horn Sewing Studio, and today we're going to show you how to make the headbands for the healthcare workers. Their ears are getting sore from the elastic, from their masks, and so we're going to show you how to make the headband with the buttons that are going to relieve the pressure on their ears and make them more comfortable. Well, we sell a headband kit, and the headband kit has 3 of our high quality knit fabrics. It's a heavyweight knit. It's really nice and stable. We are hoping that after this is all over, that you come back to us and purchase knits to make dresses and tops and children's clothing. It's very high quality, stable. It doesn't cling to you. That's our complaint with a lot of the knits out there, is they cling to you. These drape really nice. They're very high quality. I love this one. So we handpicked every one of the knits that go into our kit. So I'm sure you're gonna love it. They're just beautiful colors and they just feel so nice. So our knits are 95% cotton and 5% lycra. They've got a lot of stretch. They stretch, it's called a 4-way stretch. So a 2-way stretch does not have very much stretch lengthwise, but it has stretch going around the body. These have stretch both ways. So you can use our knits to make leggings because they have enough stretch. So we have it pre-cut for you, so you're ready to go. So all you do is we are going to sew right sides together. Now I'm going to show you a trick on the serger that makes sewing this and turning it so much easier. So I'm on the serger and I am going to just take my thread chain and I'm going to pull it long and thin. Now remember, you could do this on the sewing machine too. You'll just take 2 strands of the fabric, and I say it's like you're putting a hot dog in a bun. So you're going to put this hot dog in the bun. So I want to make sure it's the full length of the fabric. So I need to go a little longer on this one. So I have a nice long thread chain. And what's nice about the serger is you have 4 threads. If one of the threads breaks when you're pulling on it, it's not going to affect it. So I'm going to fold it over. So I got the hot dog in the hot dog bun. And I'm going to match up my edges, making sure I don't end up sewing through. I think I'm going to just sew a few stitches just to get it going, and I'm going to double check that thread chain is deep inside and I don't end up sewing through it. I've done very narrow spaghetti straps this way, but there you have to be really careful. I can feel that that thread chain over here, so I know it's farther enough away, and I'm just going to sew and stop and reposition. I'm using the 4-thread stitch and the Baby Lock serger. We love them. They're just wonderful to sew on. And chain off. Now I'm going to take the other end and tug on it a little bit and tuck it in. Gotta work at it to get it going, but you know how hard this would be to turn. They have fast turn tube turners, but I'm just going to take it and pull on it, keep tugging, pull it. So you see how far I've gotten already. I pull from either side, pull on that, see, here it comes. So that makes it so much easier to turn. So you're going to want to use that method. And on the serger, it's really easy. You just pull a thread chain. And on the sewing machine, you'll just have 2 threads. You'll pull those, put it inside. Okay, from here, I want to take it. I'm going to put the seam down the center. I think at this point, so it doesn't get in my way, I can snip off this thread chain. So I'm just going to use the side of the serger here. Okay, so there, I want it to go down the center. You can go to the iron and be real careful, but you can just eye judge it if you'd like. Okay, and then on the one end, you're going to turn it under about a 1/2 inch. Okay, so we're just turning it under a 1/2 inch. And on the other end, you're going to tuck that inside. So we're going to tuck it inside. And really would be definitely easier if you went to the iron then it won't want to unroll. So I'm just going to finger press it here just to hold it for the video. And then here, tuck this one inside and pin. And then we're going to go to the sewing machine. So I'm going to make sure it's smooth. Now you'll want to use a thread that blends in. So I'm going to use a fuchsia pink, which actually will end up blending in. Let's see, I'm going to pin it so it looks nice. And I always like to use the Lingerie Stitch whenever I'm sewing a knit. But this would be, so I'm going to select the Lingerie Stitch. It looks like a lightning bolt, maybe even a tiny zigzag. So, and I'm going to set my stitch length just a little bit longer than normal. So I'm going to go to 3. I'm just going to make it a little bit longer. And I'm going to position my fabric under the foot, lower my foot. And here's one of those times where that presser foot is up in the front. So you need to level it. So I'm going to raise my foot, press the button on the side of the foot, and then lower down. And that's going to make the foot level. So you see the front of the foot is no longer sticking up. So I'm just going to start to sew. And there, I'm going to remove a pin and lower my foot. So it's doing a teeny tiny little zigzag. So you can hardly see it. As I get close to the next pin, I'm going to remove it. So we're doing this stitch. You can hear it pounding through the heavy knit. You're going to want to use a size 90-14. These knits do not break holes when you're sewing, but if you do have a 90-14 stretch needle, I would use that for this. I'm going to just press my reverse button and tie a knot, and then press my cutter button to release it. Okay, so now I have that sewn together, but now we need to decide where we want to put the buttons. So I'm going to put it on. It has to be pretty tight fitting in order to hold their mask in place. So I'm going to position it on my head, making sure that that seam is in the back. And then I'm going to take one of these friction marking pens. The ink disappears when you touch it with an iron. And I want that button at the top of my ear. Okay, so at the top of my ear, I'm just going to mark a line so I know where to position the button. And let's measure that, because it might be uniform for all. So from the center seam up, I am 4 inches from the center seam. I think that's what I find most of the time works. So I marked where I wanted it. I am going to take my button, and it's fun to use big buttons. So in our kits, you'll get enough fabric to make 6 headbands. So 12 coordinating buttons come with each kit. And we just have some beautiful knits. You'll see them on the website at sew412.com, which is SEW412.com. And so I want to position my button there. So what I like to do is I take a piece of Scotch tape and tape it in place. If it's a really big button, I might want to go in both directions, but I think I'm going to be okay there. Okay, so I have a button sew-on foot. If you don't have this foot, you're going to want to get it, but if you don't have it, you can sew on buttons by taking off the presser foot, and then you can hold this on just by lowering your presser foot. Okay, so here I'll turn off the automatic. Okay, that's what's nice about the baby locks. You press a button to raise and lower your foot. You can raise and lower your foot with the presser foot lifter in the back. And then many of the machines have a knee lift too, which makes it really nice. We have a special going on this Baby Lock Soprano, so check out our website. But you can position it, and it will hold your button in place. The ankle, we call that the ankle, and it will hold your button in place. But I do like to put on this M foot. And what's nice about the M foot is it's got this little gadget inside, and it's really, really hard to see, but you can see the clear plastic piece peeking out. So if I go like that, it's gone. Push this forward, it's there. That creates a little shank, and you're gonna want that. Have you ever sewn on a button really tight and you couldn't button the coat because the button was sewn on too tight? This gives it a little shank, so the button's sewn on kind of loose, and it's easier to button it. So I'm gonna snap on that button, the button foot M. I think they call it button fitting foot M. Okay, and then I'm going to position. Now, the button foot will hold. So you see that metal piece? That will hold your button in place. So I always tape it where I want it. And then I'll raise that foot so you can see. I'm gonna slide that button inside the foot. And see, if your button is too big, it will be too big to hold it. But I'm not in there all the way yet, right? Am I? No. Right here, there. So now, it'll go really deep in there. So I'm gonna lower my foot. I've got that little lever pulled forward, so I end up with a little shank. I'm gonna sew my button sewing stitch, which is on this utility stitch menu, and on this particular machine it's stitch 90, but look for a stitch on your machine that shows a little button. So I'm going to select the utility stitch menu, and then I'm going to select 90, and there it is, and it shows a button. But what it is the stitch length is at 0, so there's no stitch length. It's not going to move the stitch. And the standard width between two holes on all buttons is 3.5 millimeters. So you should be a-okay with that, but I would still test it. If your needle hits the button, it's going to break the button. So I always take my hand and hand stitch it, just one revolution. I know it's working. I feel like I'm coming a little close to and there I'm going to adjust that and then just start to sew. So it's going to sew back and forth a uniform number of times and then stop. I'm going to bring my needle up out, and then I'm going to slide it forward because I have to slide it off that little prong. And then I will slide it to the next two buttons. So a 4-hole button is going to be much stronger than a 2-hole button. So you can use a 2-hole button for these, but we make sure that the buttons that we put in our kits have 4 holes so that it's sewn on nice and strong. And again, I'm going to turn the hand wheel and double check that my needle is not going to hit the button. It looks good to me. Make sure my presser foot is down, and then I'm going to start to sew. There, I'm going to press my cutter button. That's going to cut my thread and pull it to the back. I'm going to pull forward to get it off. And there it is. It's sewn on the button. So how this is used is I'm going to take this Scotch tape off. And I won't bother snipping. Okay. And a little bit more tape here. Okay, so I'm gonna put it on my head. I feel like okay, make sure the seam is in the back. Position that headband. And so when they put their mask on, they will hook this elastic around the button. And that is so much more comfortable for them. So they can wear this all day and it doesn't hurt their ears. So any of you, not just nurses, but any of you that have to wear a mask all day long. So I'm hearing from the cashiers at the grocery stores that their ears are hurting. This is the solution, is to make a headband with buttons, cute fabrics to make you look happy, and it solves the problem of your ears being irritated by the elastic. So stop at Gloria Horn Sewing Studio at our website, sew412.com. Search for Headband and you will see our kits. We're making the kits every day. Every day new fabrics come in, but we really pick some beautiful knits. So our thought is through this virus that you will visit our website to get these supplies. But we are giving you our best fabrics in hopes that you return later when this is all over and you start sewing again and making tops and dresses and tunics and with our high quality fabrics. So thank you all for joining us, and make those headbands.